So hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 237, and in this video we continue with our exercise, of course, and we stopped here with the login, my login, and we simplified this login a little bit. We created in our last video this function called login, and there is a little mistake. Try to find it, what the little mistake here is, because I just forget to do something. And what is that? Yes, I forget to check the access specifier, and what I mean with that is when you create a function in a class, check all time if you really need this function to be called from outside or not. And the reason for that is, again, I repeat myself sometimes, but that's very important because we don't want all time search later if there is a bug or other code as well. When we can keep it in a class, then we just check the code class. Also the code in the class, and if it's public, then we have to check the code outside of the class as well, which means we have to search around, and we can avoid this when we program it at start right. So let's do this. Let's check if we need to call this function outside of the class. How we can check this very fast? There is this. You can make a right click, and if you learn the shortcuts, find all references is Shift F12, or just right click and select this one, find all references. Then from this class of a variable, all the references will be listed here below, and then you can just click and see where this function is called or used. You can see it is used in the class, that's this one, and it's called here outside the class, also in the class in the constructor. So you can see it's never outside. And if it's never outside, we don't need the public access specifier. Like I said, when we read anything, it is public. Then you have to think, okay, this is probably used outside of the class. And we want to avoid all this work. So let's write here just private. All right. Now, when I make this one, I make automatically one mistake. What is the next mistake what I made by writing here private? Think about what happens when we go on after this one. Do you see it? I hope you see it, but don't worry, even if you don't see it, the compiler is complaining already. Here down, you can see that was the object which I created with this login. The variable says we can't create it, is inaccessible. Inaccessible means, yes, when I write private, all after this access specifier becomes private as well, and the constructor should never be private. All right, so that's why most time you will see that the private is on top. You can see we have here on top, and then they write public other things below. But if you have something like that, you can just write again another public access specifier, because we can write many as we want. There's no problem. So this one should work again. Very nice. So with this one is another problem here in our login. What is here the problem? Here I wrote a new comment. It says here, we'll call login screen from constructor. That's nice. But what is the problem with this one here? What do you think? Or it's not a big problem, but what could be a problem? You can see the problem, what I try to say is readability a little bit. This one is just creating a variable, and most programmers are not used to say, okay, I create a variable and it is automatically called a constructor and a function. Right? So to see that after we create a variable, this function is called, then we need indeed this information here. But we can avoid this. We can say, okay, why not just create the variable and call the function after we create? It is an unnecessary step, you would say, yes, but it makes more readable. Because, like I said, most programmers think this is just creating a variable, and then you call all functions or what you need afterwards. All right, so which means, again, we jump back to our function, and what we can do here is, again, we change this to public, so I get rid of private, what I just made, but I also get rid of the constructor call here, because this time I don't want that it's called in the constructor. So with other words, it is not called at the creation, right? So, and now, because it's not called at the creation, I have to call it here with my object. It's a little bit longer, but this one here I just make for readability, and that's it. And yeah, you can avoid this if you want, but I think many programmers prefer this way, and the reason for that is just they see, okay, they create this object and then it calls this function here called login, and this will call login screen, and here we just delete this part here, and this one is okay. The comment works here too, will call login screen. All right, so far so good. So you can see there are many little mistakes, but it's okay. We get better. I make mistakes intentionally so we can see that. And here in this function, by the way, are many other mistakes as well. I have not cleaned up all the code. I hope you cleaned up your code. So check all the variables if they are used outside. If not, make them private. If they are used outside, make them public. And try to comment them at all. Try to use nice variable names, and so on. So learn the principles little by little. At least try to make it and try to find even better principles, patterns on all this kind of stuff from the internet, and use them step by step while you learn programming. All right, let's go one more fast step further. And the next step is, let's see. We go down here. We were stopped here with our algorithm. We was here on the first line, and it says here user should choose mode, here insert. And we had there a problem, right? I said, oh, in my code, I have not even a mode. All right, let's make this. So I already coded this little part because it's just, again, a screen, information screen. So what I did here is, let me show you this fast. I created a variable, just a variable, a program loop execution condition variable. So if you read this one with the comment, I hope it is clear a little bit. If not, then I was bad, because that's the point, to make comments that other people who can read this one should understand this instantly. And but I have never talked about main loop in general, because that's a very important topic. It's easy to understand because you will see in future that almost every program will have a main loop. A main loop is where the program starts, and before it starts, it can choose options and comes back before the program ends to this point, not all time, but most time, and then finishes from here. And something like that is just simply a while loop. So it starts your while, then you try to choose an option, then you go, when you choose, after you choose the option, the function is called, and then you perform all your actions. But after you are finished, you will come back to this program to execute with the here in the main with return 0. And this main loop, it's most time called program loop or main loop or something like that. And yeah, this is what we create here. In my case, it is just an option menu. So you can see here on top, our user should choose one of these functions, and that's the mode. That in our algorithm, that's the first line. It says user should choose mode, here insert. Of course, you have to present the user first all the possible nodes. So you can see again, it is just typing again, ask on screen what you want present. I just typed it here without much work. Of course, this one will be replaced in future again with graphical interface. So yes, but right now we make it just simple like that. But still, here a little bit more info as well. Here at this output, you can see I still use here all time this stdc out instead of using it. For example, I can avoid this one here just by don't using it. What I mean with that is, I think this one is here anyhow unnecessary, because this one will continue. Let's see if this is working. So what I mean with that is I could make something like that. I save that, and you can see it is still working. And the question is now, okay, if this is still working, why you are doing this? Most time because readability, oops, Control Z. Most time because readability, like I said, it is easier to read. Okay, first we have here an option menu, and then it starts a new block where we have the options, and then we have here this kind of stuff. Of course, every programmer makes it different. You can put this all without this one in one line, but don't make it one line at least, but still make here separate that it's also readable in program. All right, it's just for readability. Then let's talk here a little bit again how I make this. Again, we create a while loop here. So my program loop is my while loop. And then I created here, just use the variable again, as long as it is not true, because my stat variable, it starts with false. This one will all time loop. And like I said, the program, we know this by now, that the program can execute this while loop in different ways. First, if this check variable becomes, for example, here true, then this can exit, but there are also other exit options. We know this with a while loop, with break keyword and all this other kind of stuff, exceptions and so on. But important is here also, let's see, this one here, what I used here. Instead of std get line, which would get the line and needs an input of a string, I used here stdcin. But this comment here is interesting. I said here not save implementation, which means this one is a developer comment, which means this implementation is not good. And why I write here it's not good, again, this stdcin, like I wrote it here, can cause errors. And this is also a big topic in general, how to avoid errors, input errors, and so on. But you should just be aware of this at start, and I want to demonstrate you this fast what I mean with that. Let's make this one. So for example, also on our account, there could be errors like anyone is trying to make your spaces, and your code must be React. In my case, it's not going in. But let's go in, and now you can see I'm in the loop. I can choose, and let's try to write again a number, but I make here a space. What happens here? Something like that. Okay, it's in my case it happens nothing because my while loop is not finished. It is looping there all time. Okay, this is, but in general it is not a safe implementation. Again, all inputs have to be checked, because if there can be occur errors, but we will talk about this in future when it's important. But right now you should be aware of this. That's why I just wrote here and not safe. So this one is I demonstrated to you this one, but here I want to show you the last thing, which is important. So I have here again created a mode. Yeah, yes, this is my choose mode. Yes, I present it here on the screen. And this one we can make better. What I mean with make better, again, that looks like a lot of code here in our main, but we can refactor this one to just a function, and then call this function perhaps choose mode, and that's it. Instead of having to check all the code here again, only we check it when we are interested, like this one here. We create a login, and then we call here the log, okay, with the object, the login, and that's it. Here, you can make this kind of stuff too, and many programmers do this a lot. So if they have functions, and you can see this is separate, it's in own, we can keep it in one place, then we can make here one function. Of course, you could start from start with the function instead, like me here showing this one, just creating something and then say, oh, I could put this in a function. But important is that's not a big problem. Important because we learned, I hope so far, refactor this one. So you can select the thing what you want, go to the quick actions here and extract to function. All right. So, and let's call this here choose choose mode, because we are choosing here the mode, right? Choose mode. And we make here, not below, above, I would say. And then we have this. So you can see this one here is now extracted above. Of course, we have to a little bit here commenting. So here is that. Then we comment this one. Let's make this one here choose, yeah, the same thing. Choose mode for now. And you can see this one looks a little bit already better. And the bad part is all the other stuff here, which we already created. We will probably, yeah, redo a little bit to clean this up. So to input them in our choose mode and also create probably function. But important is that you can see the whole code becomes easy to read. And of course you should learn the shortcuts, which I said there are not so many, thanks God, but the one shortcut is when you see a function and you want to jump to the function, press F12. And if you don't remember the shortcuts, right click and you can see here all the informations again. Here are the shortcuts. And here are what you are doing. For example, go to definition, and then we can open this one up. All right, makes our life easier. Step by step, we should get used to it. We write comments, we make all simple. We try to make all simple, readable as possible. And with that, I think I stop this video here. And we continue in the next, and like all time, if you have any questions, any comments, write in the comment section. See you in the next video. Bye, good luck, and have fun like all time.